Hey everyone, it's Mr. Rose coming at you with the fresh cut. I hope you are doing well, and I'm going to share with you this week's post, which is the end post for night reflection. So I'm going to start sharing my screen, and we will begin. So once you go on Google Classroom, like always, you'll go into the A to Z section, and you will find night reflection. Now, it has been 11 weeks since we read night. So I'm not asking you to find a page number. I'm not asking you to use your journal because most of you don't even have it. This should be all based on memory and the resources that we give you. So don't worry. We know it's not going to be perfect, but we just want to see a couple things from you. First of all, you are going to write a little bit about a review of the novel and what happened in the novel. So in at least 5 sentences, you're going to tell us what you remember happening in the book. This can be about characters, this can be about major plot points. Please understand, this is not a list. So you're not saying, number one, Ellie lived in Zyget. Number two, Ellie did so and so. This should be a paragraph that flows from one thing to the other and is at least 5 sentences. If you are stuck, go to the example post. Miss Bronner and I have created a list of things to help you, but please remember you are writing it in paragraph form. Number two, imagine that Elie Wiesel, who is no longer alive, was with us and you were able to meet him and ask him a question. For the second part of this post, you are going to write a question that you would ask him about his experience, about the Holocaust, about life. And number three, you're going to reflect on the novel and tell us what you learned about the novel through reading this novel and how this may impact your views of the world in the future. So let's take a look at some examples to help us with clarity. Please remember, question one, we did a list of a whole bunch of things that happened to help you come up with a paragraph. So yours is not going to look like this. Yours is going to be a complete paragraph. Question two is the one where you get to ask a question of Elie Wiesel. Now, here's mine. It's a little long, but it's something I'm curious about. So I say the world has lost 6 million souls in the Holocaust, yet today, 2/3 of millennials cannot even identify what Auschwitz is or what took place. This happened only 75 years ago, yet many have already forgotten about what happened in the Holocaust. How can we ensure that the memory of those who have perished live on and the lessons we learned from the Holocaust are not forgotten? So essentially, how can we make sure that the memory of those who died are remembered and that we don't repeat this? That's my question. Ms. Bronner's question? If I could ask Elie Wiesel one question, I would ask, what advice do you give to the people in the modern world to help prevent something like the Holocaust from happening again? So she has kind of a similar question. She was just a little more direct with it, whereas I used a lot of words, which isn't necessarily a good thing. Now, if we go back to mine, the third question is the one where you have to reflect on what you learned about the book, what it makes you think about, kind of just where you're at with this. Now, here's what I said. And again, you can come up with anything that the book makes you think about. But I said, when I think about the events that took place in the Holocaust, I'm horrified by the actions that took place and the inaction of those in power to prevent it from continuing. What worries me most is that Night by Elie Wiesel is not the only or even the most recent genocide, which is a mass killing of a type of people that has taken place in the world. We often talk about the Holocaust as being the worst tragedy in world history, yet we turn our head and ignore modern mass state killings. When will it stop? Who will step up? Why do we not learn? So my question is, we have genocides happening. The Holocaust was 75 years ago, yet this is still happening. And so the reflection I get from this book is, I'm curious as to why this still continues and what my role in all of this is. Now, I'm going to have you go and look at Ms. Bronner's. That way you can make sure you look at each example. But essentially, this is a little heavy because it's about the Holocaust, and all the stuff about the Holocaust is a little bit harder to process and think about. And also, we talked about this 11 weeks ago, so I understand it might take a little bit more time to process. But it is 3 things. 1, review the novel. 2, ask a question of Elie Wiesel. And 3, reflect on the novel. So that's what I got for you. If you have questions, let us know. Remember, you do not need to be using the book. You do not need to be using your journal. Just use your best judgment and try to remember what we have talked about. If you have questions, you can email Ms. Bronner and I, and you can come to office hours on Friday. So I hope you are doing well, and enjoy your day.